Welcome. Thanks for joining us today. This is the October 28th board meeting. I will now call the meeting to order. I would like those in attendance to turn off their cell phones, any mobile devices, or put them in silent mode. Thank you. This meeting is being recorded for accuracy of minutes. The agenda for today's meeting was set at our agenda planning meeting last week. Board members and audience there have been no changes to today's agenda from last week's agenda planning meeting. As we go through our agenda today, board members, we ask for a motion and a second. Then after the motion and second is on the floor, the board members can make needed comments or have discussion of the agenda items. Before we start this meeting, I want to thank the management that are in attendance today. Your help and support make this community run smoothly and continue to be a desirable community for active adults, and it is greatly appreciated by this board. Now that we have some housekeeping things out of the way, I think it's time that we kind of get started. We are at the first item, which is the Pledge of Allegiance. I understand Don Hicks will lead us today. We all stand, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks, Don, for leading us today. We'll now have the introduction of board members. I will now ask each member of the board, along with the general manager, to introduce themselves to the viewing audience, starting today with Irene D'Alicio.
Irene D'Alicio, Director.
Don Hicks, Director.
Frank Gould, Treasurer.
Roger Beagle, President.
Jay Zawatsky, Vice President.
Hank Onk, Secretary. Bud Jensen, Director. Steve Nolan, General Manager.
Thank you, board. Next on the agenda is to approve the September 30th board meeting minutes. Have been distributed to the board members. Board members, are there any corrections to the minutes?
None.
Hearing no corrections, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay.
Name?
No, I'm not.
It's okay.
Well, they don't.
Yeah, now you just wanted to say something. The September 30th board minutes are approved. Next, we have the president's message. I hope all of you in our community are aware of and excited to see the enhanced remodel of the Cottonwood Bar and Grill. On Sunday, November 1st, from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m., homeowners are invited to an open house viewing with a limited number of people at a time. Come see the changes yourself. Wear your face mask. Remember, social distancing will be required. There will be no food served. We are heading into the association's busy time of the year. Golf courses are open. A great number of homeowners have returned and cooler weather is starting. Please enjoy the community and the activities that are available to all of us. But please remember the requirements of face masks, social distancing, speed limits, guidelines for using all of our amenities. On our agenda today, under first readings, is a reciprocal agreement between Cottonwood, Palo Verde, and Iron Oaks communities. The purpose of this agreement is to foster good neighbor relations between these two Sun Lakes communities. Being put in the first reading gives us all an opportunity of making comments for 30 days before it is voted on at the November board meeting. The reciprocal agreement has been updated and needed for quite some time. The management and board of directors of both communities have worked very hard on producing a workable agreement that will be beneficial to all homeowners. Next on the agenda becomes the employee of the month. This month we have 2 employees. With great honor, the unanimous vote was to have 2 long-term employees. I should use the word tenure, not term. Excuse me for that. Selected as October's employee of the month. Larry Guild and Ed Johnson have been with the association for over 14 years. There is only 1 month difference in their start dates, which means that makes them two peas in a pod. Both men work in the pro shop as rangers. Some of their job duties entail collecting green fees, picking up golf balls, and checking for hazards on the golf course. They are extremely dedicated employees who have been very loyal when needed during some of the 115-degree weather this past summer, without a complaint. Gentlemen, both of you are the greatest. Thanks for your quality of work. Larry and Ed both continue to do a great job in the pro shop. Your efforts are very much appreciated in our community. You both are deserving of the Employees of the Month recognitions, and congratulations. Next on the agenda is the Treasurer's Report. Frank Gould.
Thank you, Roger. The financial report, which is a summary report, is on the last page of the agenda. This reports financial results for the month of September, which is, and also the year to date. We are through 3 quarters of 2020 now. Additionally, this report shows the balances in our various funds and any monthly activity that impacts those funds. As with previous reports, we'll be focusing on 2 columns, the year-to-date actual and the year-to-date variance, which is the difference between actual results and what was budgeted. I do round to the nearest $1,000 on my statements. For homeowner services, year-to-date net is 609,609 positive, which is 364,000 better than budget. For food and beverage, the year-to-date actual is a negative 102,000. That's 102, but that is 179,000 better than budget. For golf, year-to-date actual net is a negative 127,000, which is 180,000 less than budgeted. For the association overall, the year-to-date actual net is $379,000. That is $364,000 better than budget. As mentioned earlier in previous months, the management team's continued efforts on controlling costs this year has contributed greatly to these really good and positive results. For the Palo Verde Gate, year-to-date is a negative $2,896. That is $2,878 less than budget. For special fund balances are shown on the report, and all these funds are healthy. The number of homes sold year to date is 250. Resulting revenue from these sales is $366,000, which will be added to the capital improvement fund. And a copy of the summary report will be available in the administration building tomorrow. If you would like to see it, call for an appointment. Questions?
That concludes Frank's report. Board members, may I have a first and a second motion to approve? Oh, I didn't hear the second. Now we get the first and second. Thank you. This is a pre-audited financial report. For all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay. Motion is approved. We're now coming down to the agenda on committee reports. There will only be one committee report, and that's the Architectural Compliance Committee. Bud Jensen.
Okay, thank you, Mr. President. The Architecture Compliance Committee had one meeting this month, October 6th. The summary of activities from September 29th to October 26th was their permits approved with 83, permits denied is 0, permits 2 weeks or more past due date requiring follow-up is 3. And the recommendation action to the board of directors, and you've got to see attached on item tab number 7 under new business, and the board has already seen this and will be voted on later. The recommendation items for management is none. Any questions?
Thank you, Bud. Now, we need to make something very clear here. There is no other committee reports. All committee meetings have been suspended until January 1st, 2021. Now, I want you all to know whether you're committee chairs, committee people, or know of some. The board has been working and will continue to work to if and when we start up again. All committee chairs will be notified of the new procedures that we will be seeing come from the board as far as committee meetings. But remember, the startup is dependent upon the health department and COVID guidelines. We're down to project reports. First one we have is Cottonwood Restaurant, Don Hicks.
This is the one we've been looking for. This is the last report. Construction's finished. All permits have been approved. And we have a certificate of occupancy on hand. So we're good to go. We're about 7 days over the original completion schedule, which really isn't too bad with a 4-month project. We have a few invoices yet to come in, but it is forecasted will be about 4.5% below budget. Marshall and Mandy are in the process of stocking the restaurant and bar. Jim Miller's crew is in the process of setting the tables, chairs, and also correcting a few small punch list items. I was going to ask Marshall to tell you about the walkthrough and the opening, but fortunately, our president is already
Did I get out of order?
done that.
You
So,
stole his thunder.
I stole your thunder. I'm
thank
sorry.
you, Mr. President. And Marshall was ready.
He was. I'm glad of that.
My thanks to the team for their efforts in this project. With special thanks to Marshall and Jim Miller for their hard work, and especially their attention to detail that has made this remodel a success. Thank you guys, and I do appreciate you checking every little nut and screw and make sure everything was in place and we got what we paid for. Roger, do you have anything to add?
I haven't anything to add except I apologize for taking thunder.
Steve?
No, I don't.
questions from the board?
I'd like to just add that the yard work started to serve on November 2nd, right? Yeah.
Correct, yeah.
So the walkthrough is Sunday and Monday open for business.
Yeah, I can share the hours if you
Oh, sure.
want. Yeah, just so the homeowners know.
That's turned out.
So yes, we will open on November 2nd, which is Monday. We will be open daily from 8 a.m. until 11 for breakfast, and then 11 till 4 for our lounge lunch menu. We'll start dinner service 4 till 7, and we'll have last call approximately 8 p.m. We'll revisit the hours and look at them again in January to just seeing how COVID goes, but those are the hours for now. So.
Marshall, while you're up there, can you fill us in on the hours for PV with the opening of Cottonwood?
Very good question. Yeah. So over at Palo Verde, the hours will be adjusted just a little bit. There won't be breakfast served at Palo Verde anymore. We will serve lunch from 11 until 4 daily. And then we will go on, and Sundays we will serve a brunch, and that's 10 till 1 as addition. And then we will serve until 6 p.m. on Sundays, Mondays, and Tuesdays, 7 p.m. for last call on drinks on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday through Saturday, 7 p.m., and then 8 p.m. for closing. So I know that can be a little confusing. The new update for the website will launch on Friday. Brian Maston and I have been working together on getting that together. So you can see all the new menus and everything else online at cottonwoodpaloverde.com. Just click on that restaurant tab and you'll see everything you need. So.
Thank you, Marshall. Any questions from homeowners? Remember that if you have a question, you can call me or you can call Steve. But your best bet is to look on the website. That usually has everything you need to know. Thank you. That concludes my report. And my last one.
And your last one. I like the idea. Thanks, Don. You're very well. You did a very well-deserved job, and a lot of thanks to you. Next on the project report is Palo Verde restrooms. That would be Steve Nolan. Well, thank you. The restrooms are moving forward. The framing work has been completed. The plumbing work is nearly all completed. Farnsworth Construction advised me next week drywall will start to be installed, and then you'll see it moving forward at a little faster pace once the drywall is installed. That concludes my report. Thank you, Steve. Now we have the management report. We go right back to you, Steve Nolan. Thank you. It's been a busy month. Facilities maintenance has been extremely busy. They moved the data line for the new remodel at Cottonwood Bar and Grill. Facilities maintenance fabricated metal casement for the emergency exit door to match the other casement in the Cottonwood Bar and Grill. They installed a point of sale monitor in the new popcorn room. I guess it's actually 2 monitors. They fabricated custom booth separators for proper COVID-19 social distancing at Cottonwood Bar and Grill. This was a huge savings if we had to go out and have those custom built. They moved 2 new beer coolers and installed them at the Cottonwood Bar. They adjusted and leveled patio automatic sunshades at Cottonwood Bar and Grill and repaired the system. They replumbed the water filter system at Cottonwood Pro Shop. Now the new Mister system will operate through a water softener, and this will extend the life of the Mister system. They installed 2 new doors on the driving range shed. Overseed went great this year on both our golf courses and our common areas. Congratulations to Scott Anderson, and Pat Lynch, and their staff for a great job. Thank you for all your hard work. I would also like to thank Ryan Shaw, our controller, Frank Gould, our treasurer, and the board of directors, and all my managers for their hard work on the 2021 budget. It was not an easy task since COVID-19 has financially impacted us and will continue to impact us throughout 2021. So thank you for all your hard work. For the most up-to-date information, please remember to read the flyer and the note. Thank you, Steve. Next, we have director's comments. Today, we're going to start with Bud Jensen.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to thank Ed Johnson and Larry Gill for their Employee of the Month. They do a great job. And I guess I need to thank Marshall and Jim for the wonderful job they've done in the restaurant. And thank you very much, and Jim, and your crew for the stuff you've done outside the restaurant. And so, Scott, congratulations on the golf course. That's it.
Yeah, kind of echo that because obviously Larry and Ed, require special acknowledgement for the good job they were doing as employees, as being employee of the month. And of course, what I just mentioned, I was just thinking, if I'm hearing all the things, Jim, that you and your people are doing for the restroom too, but just in relation, and I thank you for that as well, but just in relation to the restaurant, I don't think I've every time I would pass by there or whatever, it seems like you or some people like from your group or something were helping or working in there, so it's pretty good. So thank you very much, and Marshall, of course, you're a good guy, and I don't want to forget Don. Don did a great job too, as always, looking at the project and coming in, what did you say, Don, 4.5% below budget?
It's about that. I think it'll be a little more.
That's good. Any dollar below the budget is good, right? That's excellent. Thank you. That's it.
My turn.
It is.
I don't have much in addition to add to what people have already said, except I just want to give a special thanks out there to Don because I kind of shadowed him in some of this work just for a learning process on the Cottonwood remodel. It's a lot of work. I've learned a lot about construction, and I just think he did an excellent job of keeping it on schedule and on budget. And so, Don, I just want to give a personal thank you for that.
Thank you.
That's it, Mr. President.
You did it, Frank.
It's tough to add anything that's already been said. I would like to congratulate Larry and Ed. I'm sure they're doing a great job, and I see them out on the course periodically, so I do observe that portion of their work. One other thank you that I'd like to make, and that is to Brian Shaw and Brian Maston for their help in completing a lot of the work that you will see later today on the presentation of the budget for 2021. And they were very right on, whenever a request came in, they helped on it right away, and I think we've got to put together, and you'll see the results later.
I'd like to congratulate Larry Gill and Ed Johnson on co-employees of the month. And I'd like to recognize Brian Shaw, all the managers, and Frank, our treasurer, for their hard work on putting the budget together. It's been a real difficult task with COVID. We don't know how long it's going to last. It's pretty difficult to just reach out in the air and make some assumptions. We think they've made the right assumptions. I believe they've made the right assumptions. So thank you all for the hard work. That budget started back in June, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Back in June, so it's June, July, August, September, and part of October. It's a long, tedious process to put all the numbers together and make them come out, hopefully, to keep our annual dues as low as possible, and we've done that another year. Thank you, guys.
I'd like to be sure and thank all of our two co-employees for the great job they've been doing, and we're looking forward to lots more great work from you guys. Also, finance, that's a tough job, I know, Frank and Brian, and I'm glad it wasn't me, let me tell you. I just got to be in on the periphery, and I could see how much work you guys did, and it was really great. I can't wait for Cottonwood to open on Monday. I'm so excited about that, and every one of you have done just a really great job, John and Jim and Marshall, and I don't even know who else to thank, but I think it's really gonna be great. I can't wait for the homeowners to see it. They're gonna love it.
Thank you, board members. Okay, now we're down to the fun part of the agenda. This has to do with capital reserve replacement funds. First one on the agenda is your tab number 2. This is where management recommends replacing the existing 75 horsepower pump motor for the Cottonwood Rainbird irrigation pump station, and install a new 75 premium efficient pump motor. This also includes a repack of pump number 3. Crane services and labor are all included. This repair has already been completed. The pump station number 2 motor failed 2 weeks ago prior to overseeding. And a loss of this pump could have been catastrophic to the golf courses. The pump station located between holes number 4 and number 5 on Cottonwood Golf Course. Management recommends a sole source bid from Independent Pump and Service of Arizona for a total of $9,361. May I have a motion and a second to accept this management recommendation?
So moved.
Second.
Board members, do you have any comments, questions, or additional information that you need on this particular item? Hearing none, I will ask one. Scott, you're here? Scott Anderson. Are we gonna be able to do anything with the old pump motor? Is that salvageable or is it not feasible to do it?
Yes, we can hang on to that pump, and when we have funds to rebuild it and have it on the shelf and have it as a spare or a backup, we can certainly do that.
Okay, very good. Appreciate that.
Yes.
There's a motion and a second on the floor. All those approved, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay. Motion is approved. Next item is your tab number 3. Management recommends replacing a 4-ton HVAC unit number 12 at the Cottonwood Lounge. This unit is no longer functional and was due for a replacement in 2015. 3 bids were received from Alpine Air for $7,100, American Cooling and Heating for $7,475, and Bumblebee Air for $9,000. May I have a motion and a second to accept this management recommendation?
So moved.
Board members, do you have any comments, questions, or need additional information on this recommendation? We have a motion and a second on the floor. All those say aye that approve.
Aye.
And those opposed say nay. Motion is approved. Next up is your tab number 4. Management recommends replacing a 4-ton HVAC unit number 13 at the Cottonwood Lounge. This unit is no longer functional and was due for replacement in 2017. 3 bids were received. Alpine Air for $7,100, American Cooling and Heating for $7,475, and Bumblebee Air for $9,000. Management recommends the low bid from Alpine Air for a total of $7,100. May I have a motion and a second to accept this management recommendation?
So moved.
Board members, do you have any comments, questions, or need additional information?
Yeah, Jim, I've got one question. It has nothing to do with this particular request. But how many air conditioning units do we have on the roofs of the buildings that we've got here in the community?
With the air conditioners and the swamp coolers, we have approximately 85. Anywhere from 3-ton units to 10-ton units.
Yeah, I knew it was a large number. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Jim. Motion is on the floor in a second. All those in approve, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay.
Nay. Just kidding.
Just one to hear. Motion is approved. Next up becomes tab number 5. Management recommends repairing Cottonwood kitchen cooler number 3 by replacing a leaking evaporative coil in cooler number 3 and then adding refrigerant. Management recommends a sole source bid from Fair Refrigeration for a total price of $3,774. Fair Refrigeration is a preferred vendor for all refrigeration repairs at Cottonwood and Palo Verde restaurants. May I have a motion and a second to accept this management recommendation?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Any questions or comments by board members and clarifications on this recommendation?
Can I ask one question of Marshall? These last 3, because they're all at Cottonwood, are they gonna get completed before Monday? Or do they need to get completed before Monday?
Yeah, they have been completed as well.
Thank you, Gay. Thank you, Marshall. Motion on the floor. Those all approve, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay. Motion is approved. Under Palo Verde Gate Fund, there is none. There are none on their capital improvement refund request. Fund request, did I say refund, didn't I? Got ahead of myself there, didn't I? Voluntary contribution fund, there is none. Cottonwood Bar and Grill renovation, there is none. Palo Verde restroom renovation, there is none. There is nothing under old business. Under new business, this is our tab number 6. This is to approve the changes to board policy chapter 4-16 of the Palo Verde HOA carry forward fund. May I have a motion and a second to accept this recommendation of change?
So moved. Second.
Board members, do you have any comments or questions? Need additional information on this recommendation?
You might want to explain the change, Mr. President.
Well, the change, and my notes are, it was a dollar amount change.
Yeah, you want me to,
Thanks, Frank.
yeah, let me, we got a policy 4-16 that addresses the carry forward fund. And in this policy, we mentioned the purpose of the fund and we have a stated amount in there. And the reason for this change is to get it to the amount that was at the end of 2019. It was $300,000. At the end of 2019, there's a $100,000 balance at the end of 2019. And we want to update this 4.16 to reflect that 300,000. And then it provides the flexibility for Brian to recommend the use of that money to best serve the community, either for the next year's budget, to add to one of the capital improvement fund, or to add to the capital reserve fund. And that's the basis for the request to go from 149 to 300.
Very good. Any other questions by board members? Motion and second is on the floor. All those approve, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay. Motion is approved. Next up is your tab number 7. This is Architectural Compliance Committee recommends the approval of Don Stevens as a non-voting member of the committee. Elizabeth Bradley, a current committee member, is recommended for a 1-year extension to her current term. Elise Albert and Denise Tucker were both wanting to serve their first new 2-year terms. I'm going to ask for a motion and a second for the committee's recommendation. If there's any discussion in reference to this, we will do it after the motions are on the floor. May I have a motion and a second to accept this recommendation from the Architectural Compliance Committee? There's a motion on the floor. Board members, are there any comments, questions, or clarifications on this recommendation?
Yes, Mr. President. There are two people that have been accepted by the committee for new 2-year terms. Elise Albert and Denise Tucker. There is one person that is termed out on that committee. In other words, has served 2-year terms. And the committee is asking for a 1-year extension. I do not support that extension. In 2018, we had 13 exceptions on 9 committees. The president at that time asked 3 board members to serve as a committee to study the problem of the exemptions and to make recommendations for revision of the board policy concerning committees. The 3-person committee did that, brought recommendations to the board. The board accepted those recommendations. And one of the big changes was in the exceptions. We changed the exceptions to minimize or eliminate any exceptions. And we did so because every exception blocks a position for a new person on any of our committees. And we felt that was wrong. And I feel it's wrong today. There are people that make applications for committees, and they have choices, first and second choices. But that does not limit them to those first and second choices. This community has many, many, many very, very smart people, retired doctors, lawyers, engineers, CEOs of large companies, and I can go on and on and on. So, when committees ask for exceptions because there are no qualified applicants, I don't buy that, no qualified applicants. Everyone in this community is more than qualified to serve on any committee we have. In the late 1990s, I was on the Architectural Compliance Committee. And yes, I have a construction background. But I didn't know what that committee was doing. I went on the committee and I was told, there's your seat right over there. And we'll start the meeting. And that was it. I had no help, no mentoring, no nothing. So I learned on the fly. And after the second meeting, I was off and running. So it ain't rocket science. In addition, after revising the board policy, the board on the day we approved the board policy, we would allow exceptions to continue throughout the committee year of 2019. We did that. There were exceptions. One exception was the ACC committee. It seems like the exceptions sort of get back to that committee each year. We're voting for committee members, committee year 2020, 2021. I do not support the exception asked for by the ACC committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Don. Any other board members?
Yes, I have a couple of questions. How many applications or new members did we get for ACC?
We had 5.
We had 5. Okay, and Elise, this is her second, she took a 1-year,
Yes,
Outreach.
she had to be off 1 year and then she came into the second year. She's very valuable to that
Yeah.
committee.
and Denise is brand new.
Denise is brand new. She's now studying under Dave in his
Okay.
territory because his term will be out.
Okay, then I had just one more question. When new members come on to the ACC committee, is it Joanne that kind of gets them up to speed on what this, because I know there's a lot for these people. Well, I don't know, but I think there would be probably more for the members of this committee to really know and understand than it might be for communications committee.
You're right on that, Gabe. There certainly is. And with this coronavirus, for some reason, we have increased in the number of permits that's been requested this year. And so our committee is very busy. And of course, we've had Joanne, she's been out on sick leave for a while. She's back now a few hours a day. So that, and she has to work with those new members too.
Okay, so Joanne is actually the person that kind of gets the new members up to speed.
Up to speed, yes.
Yeah.
And so she has books she gives them. Now, other one, we don't have to get up to speed. She's up to
Yeah,
speed.
she's already been on there, okay.
And Denise is working very hard and she's very qualified for that committee.
Okay, that's all my questions. Thank you, then.
I have one question.
Okay,
Am I correct in saying we have a booklet that describes what is allowed and what is not allowed in architectural compliance? Am I correct in saying that?
you are correct. We have a guideline that goes out to every homeowner. We have guidelines available to any of our homeowners.
So we have a guideline available for new committee members. Is that correct?
Yes,
I need to make sure that I answer that correctly. Some of the work, and I have to really careful here. Yes, the members can read the booklet, but some of the reports that have to be done and what they're looking for comes from Joanne. That's the administration. She spends a great deal of time getting the kind of reports that she can get back and do her job efficiently. And that is not in the book.
What reports are we talking about?
Well, the reports that she puts out is how many permits are out there, what their status are, as to when they're due back, when the is overdue, when they need to send a reminder. The members also have on that printout sheet, it's an Excel sheet of how many times they've made contact or attempted contact with a homeowner to find out where the status is of the change.
I think you're talking about the consent agenda report that Joanne puts out. She's very good about that, and we usually get 2 a month she puts out, and she follows up and makes sure all these people are following and checking their permits out in their territory. And she does a lot of work for them.
Is every permit checked by a as simple as planting flowers and refreshing rock in your yard, things like that? Are they inspected by a committee member?
The committee member watches their territory, and if they're done and they have not turned their permit in, the yellow copy in, the committee member needs to contact that person. Or if they're doing something that doesn't have a permit, the committee member also has to contact that person and say, hey, you need to get a permit on this. And there are people that do that. So they watch it very closely. They have a big job. This is a different committee than most of our committees. And it's a very important committee for the community to keep our committee looking good.
With all due respect, Bob, you didn't answer my question. Let me rephrase it. If I ask for a permit to refresh the rock in my yard, does a committee member have to come out and inspect that refreshment of rock in my yard? Or if I pull a permit to add a plant in my yard, does a committee member come out and check to make sure that I've only planted one plant?
Yes, they're supposed to, absolutely.
That seems to be a waste of time to me.
Well, it's not a waste of time for the committee members. They know what they have to do, and they work very hard at this. It's very important to them.
But why should we go check a homeowner when all they're doing is refreshing rock or planting a plant? I mean, to me, that just makes no sense at all. If you're building a swimming pool, or you're putting an addition on your home, or you're putting in rain gutters, or you're putting in new windows, I can understand. But I'd like to suggest that at least 80% of our permits are of a very, very minor nature. And if we're asking committee members to patrol their areas to make sure no one's doing anything they shouldn't be doing, to me, that's facts of.
During this coronavirus, our permits have not been very, very minor. We've had some real work going on at our homeowners.
What percentage are they?
Like,
All the permits, what percentage of the ones that you think are major?
Mr. President, I have something I'd like to say.
go right ahead.
If Don's done, I wasn't sure. I was there for a second. Are you done?
Yes.
Oh, okay, thank you. I respect Don's position, and I support the exceptions policy that we have, and in fact, it says that an exception member may be appointed to a committee on a temporary basis to solve a particular situation of the committee, and it mentions a few of them. But although not specifically mentioned, I would hope that the policy is not so restrictive to not consider unexpected circumstances. I believe is really the reason for this exception request, unless I am wrong. And based on that, the unexpected circumstances would qualify under the situation of valuable experiences needed for the short term and so particular situation with media. And allow me to explain for a moment. New members, as we already mentioned for a moment here, to the Architectural Compliance Committee received orientation and are tutored, well, tutored may be not quite the right word, but they are certainly helped along and observed and advised in the first couple of months by the ACC administrator. Now, in light of the fact that the ACC administrator recently had major surgery and is receiving ongoing treatments which are known to compromise the immune system, it is my opinion, and I'm not saying maybe anybody else's, but it's my opinion that we should retain as many experienced people on the ACC at this time in order to reduce that orientation and training burden on the administrator, especially in light of the compromised immune system in relation to the COVID-19 that's going on. Thus, I personally consider it a prudent and valid request of the ACC chairman to ask the board to grant an exception for the committee member Elizabeth Bradley who's terming out, but is willing to serve one more year on the committee. Rather than simply a situation of a committee member saying, you know, I really love being on this committee. I would sure like to stay for one more year. and there's been an exception reason for that, I would not support it. I would absolutely not support it. But in light of the situation that's happened with the committee recently, with the administrator and her health condition and so on, I feel that this is not an unreasonable request. That's all I can say.
I respectfully disagree.
Okay. Any other board members with comments? There is a motion and a second on the floor to accept the recommendation. Do we need to reread this to the board members? Okay. All those in favor of approving the Architectural Compliance Committee member recommendations, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
No.
Duly noted. Motion is approved. Next on the agenda is first readings. There are three things that are going into the first reading. Your tab number 8. Is this the approved or reciprocal agreement between Cottonwood, Palo Verde, and Iron Oaks? Board members, do you have any questions on this? This is now in first reading, and this will stay on the board and be voted on next month. Or excuse me, stay on the agenda. Tab number 9 has to do with approved changes to board policy 7-60, pickleball court regulations. Irene, do you want to quickly
Sure.
give us a synopsis of that change?
Sure. The current policy 7-60 has an area that is not very clear with the transition between club time and homeowner time. And this policy simply clears it up. The current HOA policy time for homeowner time is that you can play every other hour. There needs to be an hour in between. So when club members play at the end of club time, they can go right into the HOA time, which leaves homeowners sitting on the court if they've been there waiting for court. So this simply clarifies that and says, hey, basically, you have to play every other hour unless the court is free.
Okay.
Questions?
Board members, do you have any questions or comments about this policy? This will remain in first reading and be voted on at our November board meeting. Our tab number 10 is to approve changes to board policy chapter 8-02A, facility use, other amenities. Irene, I'm going to ask you again if you could kind of give us a little clarification of what is suggested for the changes.
Sure. When the club first began, they had a larger number of outside members, outside meaning Sun Lake Swan and Iron Oaks. And over the years, we've been reducing that number so that we can allow more homeowners to play on our court as pickleball has become more popular. This simply says that we are reducing it with the current number grandfathered, and we will keep reducing it until the number is 0, so that more homeowners have an opportunity to play.
Thank you, Irene. Any other questions from the board members? This will remain in first readings and be voted on at November's board meetings. We're down to one situation. This has to do with the homeowner that is here, Felix Petrell. Couple of things I want to first ask you to do. He has a comment that he wishes to make to the board. I'm going to ask you to keep your comments quickly, only due to the time that we have starting the next board meeting, which is the presentation. And before you start, one question I'm going to need to ask you is there was a Zoom account assigned to you and by the administration office, and have you used that? So if you will answer that question and make your comments. Pardon me?
I missed the question.
There is a Zoom account that was assigned to you by the administration office. Have you used that Zoom account?
No.
Okay. Now we'd like to hear from
My wife and I took over the ambassadors program right before COVID, and I understand COVID came about. My concern is that we have 200 people that bought houses. We probably have over 100 pink slips at home that say that people want a tour and their complimentary meal. And if we're not gonna do that, we might consider quitting the pink slips. And we get a lot of calls from homeowners about amenities. And usually when we moved here, we had ambassadors that talked to us and they took us under their wing. And if I had a question, I would call them. And it was a good thing because when I had a question, I called them, they answered the question. And I just think that something should be done. And I know somebody said something about January 1st. And if we open everything up and the ambassador program starts up again, what do you do with over 100 people that need a tour? So it's just something to think about. That's, I just wanted to.
And I appreciate your information, Felix. In my opinion, this is me as a board member only, in my opinion, you're correct, and we understand that. The board will look into that, and the board will try to make some sort of accommodation. We are not going to be able at this point in time to have a large group of people, but we will look into this, and between the board and management, we will try to solve some of those problems. Okay? Thank you for your time. I'm going to adjourn this meeting at this particular time. Ryan, if we could take a 10-minute break before we go back online, give the board members a chance to do everything. And those viewing at the audience, you can come in and join again. The budget presentation will be given next in about 10 minutes. This meeting is adjourned. Got it.